This is a very difficult question. The normal approach you would take to find the limit of a sequence is normally useful, but in this case it's not. So it really tests your ability to be flexible in your techniques and try and play a bit and understand the sequence. So we have to find the range of values of p for which the sequence given by the next term is equal to the current term multiplied by 1 minus p. We have to find the range of values of p for which that sequence is a convergent sequence, so one that tends to a certain value. Okay. Now, if a limit exists, you could say then that the next term L is equal to 1 minus p multiplied by the current term, which would also be L, because if you keep going on near infinity, the previous term and the next term would be the same pretty much. If you expand that out, however, you get into a bit of problems, because you get L equals L minus PL, and that gives you that PL equals 0. So P could be any number, L could be any number. We don't really know anything. That technique is basically useless. We need another approach. So what we're going to do is actually just take it back a step and think, what is a convergent sequence and a divergent sequence? So something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you were to add up those terms as you go along in the sequence to create a series, it would end up being a divergent one, because each number is getting bigger each time. Okay? And that means it'll go off to infinity. If, however, we had 1 and then 1/2 and then 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, we would get a convergent sequence. And you might say, well, that's because eventually you're going to be adding on nothing, because these numbers will get so small, and when you're adding on nothing, you'll arrive at a limit. But to take from that is each term is getting smaller. So the next term is smaller than the previous term. So let's apply that to this one here. For the next term to be smaller than the previous term, we'd have to make sure we're multiplying by a number that makes the next term smaller. So we need to think about that number there. What number can you multiply by to make something smaller? Well, normally, from first year maths, you'd figure out that if you multiply by a number between 0 and 1, so let's take, for example, 10 multiplied by 0.4, the answer gets smaller. If we had negative 6 multiplied by 0.4, we get negative 2.4. It's smaller. So at this stage, you just think, right, this 1 minus p, it has to be between 0 and 1, and we're sorted. However, it's a little bit more to it. Let's look at if x was between 0 and minus 1, what happens there? If we multiply by, say, negative 0.4, we get negative 4. Is that smaller than 10? Yes. So actually these numbers might work as well. But let's be thorough. Let's take another. You always want to try and look at all the eventualities, all the possible combinations to really test things out. So let's look at minus 10. Minus 10 times minus 0.4 gives you 4. Now then you might think, oh, actually this doesn't work now, because we've got a bigger number. 4 is bigger than negative 10. But actually in the context of sequences, we're not looking at the size in terms of where it is in the number line, thinking that 4 is bigger than negative 10. We're actually looking at the absolute size. Negative 10 is actually a bigger quantity in absolute terms than 4 is. So what do I mean by that? If it was up at 10, you get a number at 10, and then it went down to, say, negative 10. They're the same size away from the origin, that is. And then it jumps from negative 10 to 4. Well, now, okay, 4 is higher up in the number line, but actually the number has decreased in its actual absolute size, okay? Or its distance from the origin, I suppose. Because what's going to happen with this type of sequence is it's going to converge as well. Just going to do it in that manner. So In summary there, multiplying by a number between 1 and negative 1 will actually make each term smaller. It might change the sign as well and do lots of different things, but each term in terms of its absolute size will be getting smaller, or each term will be getting, I suppose, probably at the start I should have said this, each term is getting closer to 0. That might make it more easy to understand. So each of these terms is getting closer to 0. So negative 10 to 4, 4 is closer to 0 than negative 10. Okay? So then, back to the context of the question. If we multiply by a number between 1 and minus 1, that will make the next term smaller, so the sequence will converge. So this has to be between 1 and minus 1. So let's solve that. P has to be between, sorry, not P, we're not multiplying by P, we're multiplying by, if I can get it right, we're multiplying by 1 minus P. So 1 minus P has to be between 1 and minus 1. To solve that double inequality, we take it in two sections. So either minus 1 is less than 1 minus P, in which case P minus 1 is less than 1 and P is less than 2. Or we take the second part of the inequality. The other possibility is that 1 minus P is less than 1. So 1 is less than P plus 1 and P is less than 0. So then we bring that together and we can say that P must be bigger than 0 but less than 2. That's your final answer. Another thing just to look at, you can stop listening now, but just another wee extra thing in case that there might be different approaches you might need to use. So another good approach would have been to get this here and try and write it out and see what it looks like instead of writing it as a recurrence relation. See what it looks like in terms of n. So starting off, the first term, we don't know what it is, it doesn't tell us, so let's just call it A. The second term is the previous term multiplied by 1 minus P. The third term is the previous term multiplied by 1 minus P, which should give you 1 minus P squared. And the next term, again, would be the previous one. And instead of being squared now, it would be cubed, because it's multiplied by 1 minus P again. And that gives you an nth term, where the power of 1 minus P is always 1 less than n. Okay? So if it's the nth term, this would be n minus 1. And then you can see that if this here was less than 1 or bigger than minus 1, then when you raise it to the power of infinity, if you went on forever and ever, that would basically make the whole thing 0. So this number here has to be between 1 and minus 1, which is what we said, and that would solve to give you this answer here. Tough question, hope that helps.